With relief, I jumped out of bed to see him, listening as he burst through the front door, full of news about the 3 converts. "And Astrid, that church was packed," he was saying to my mother as I walked downstairs. "Ricardo is doing a great job as pastor." "Keep it down," Mom hissed, her voice moving up the stairs toward me. "And don't scare me like that again. If you're going to be this late, call from a payphone or something." I turned and tiptoed back to my room. Hanging around with Mom while she was in that kind of mood was a bad idea. "You knew I'd be okay, didn't you?" His voice followed hers. She didn't answer. I stood by my bedroom door, and Dad turned toward me, a wild look on his boyish face. "Good night, Josie," he said, much too energetic for the middle of the night. When he hugged me, his white shirt and striped tie smelled more of coffee and antiseptic than church. "See ya in the morning," I called to my parents, trying to make the strange interaction feel normal. Their bedroom door clicked closed, muffling their conversation. Hours later, I awoke, screaming, as if I knew some cosmic wheels had been set in motion and wouldn't stop until everything in my life had changed completely. Of course, danger was an inherent part of growing up in such a wild and beautiful country, where stray dogs and beggar children made their homes in the street. Parts of the stunning Andes Mountains surrounding Cali were still so remote they remained unexplored. But that night, I screamed because of a fresh fear, one I couldn't understand. Mom and Dad ran to my room, and Aaron lurked at the doorway. When they saw I was unharmed, Mom gave me a glass of water, Dad prayed over me, and they all went back to bed. I didn't tell them that when I finally shook off the panic, the feeling of a presence lingered in my room, and my thoughts refused to let me close my eyes again. 30 minutes later, I couldn't be alone anymore. I grabbed my robe and crept down the stairs and past the kitchen, to Blanca's room. Standing in the dark hallway, I tapped on her door and held my breath. Shame washed over me as I waited for her to let me in. At 16, I was way too old for such things, but I couldn't go back up those stairs. Sometimes, the house loomed over me. When Blanca opened the door, she motioned for me to come in and sit in the easy chair by her door. She wrapped her blue robe around her and sat on the edge of the bed while I dropped onto the overstuffed burgundy seat. After a pause, she asked, "Your mother? Is she okay?" "Sure, I guess." I hugged my knees to my chest. "Why?" "It is nothing, chica," she answered. "Did you hear me scream?" Blanca shook her head. "The world heard you scream." "Tell me a story. You know, something about your brothers and sisters." "Okay," she said, rubbing her eyes. "Have I told you about my brother's chicken?" I leaned back, settling in. No, Blanca's stories about her family and their farm, 1 mountain range and 3 bus transfers away, never failed to comfort me. We would search the countryside for eggs laid by my mother's chickens. One time, my cousins put an egg under my brother's pillow. But my brother must have found it before it broke. She smiled, adding, "It hatched and became my brother's pet chicken. He named it Socorro." I chuckled, not knowing how much of the story to believe. Either way, Help was a funny name for a chicken. "Tell me more," I said, swinging my legs over the arm of the chair. Blanca thought for a moment, then said, "Here is something. One time, I was gathering wood for a fire, and a snake slithered out of the woodpile into the bushes. I dropped the branches and ran to my grandmother, screaming about the culebra. She told me seeing a snake means a big change is coming. Soon after I saw that snake, my father sent me to work here in the city." "But that's a good thing, right?" I asked, knowing she'd moved in with us when she was 17. She didn't answer. "Dad found a snake," I remembered aloud, "the other day in the backyard. He tried to kill it. Maybe a change is coming here, too." Blanca eyed me.